we are starting in Exodus 33, and then we continue from there. And this is about Moses. He had talked to God earlier in the last chapter, and God had told him to lead the people to the land that he promised to his fathers. And he was ready to do that, but God was also very serious with the Israelites on what they did in the wilderness by making that calf. So he decided to punish them, and he brought a plague upon them, and that's where we ended last time. So now Moses, God will not come into their midst. The tabernacle moved outside the camp. The Lord talks to Moses face to face. Then the Lord said to Moses, leave this place, you and the people you brought up out of Egypt, and go up to the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I'll give it to your descendants. This is God talking to Moses, and God is not happy because of what they had done by worshiping other gods or the idol in the wilderness. So God was not happy, and he's telling Moses now, he is not the one who has taken the people out of Egypt. He is blaming Moses, and he's telling Moses, then the Lord said to Moses, leave this place, that is, leave the place of Horeb, and go with the people that you took out of Egypt. Now he's blaming Moses. He's the one who took the people out of Egypt. He is disowning the Israelites. So God is not very happy because God cannot mix with any sins. That's why he is disowning them now. And he says, but I'll give them the land which I promised through the oath to their parents, that is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And definitely because God says that he's going to give them because of their descendants, not because of them, but because of the generations to come. So when God becomes serious with people, he doesn't pay attention to them anymore. He thinks of the generations to come because they did not know what was happening. But the people who have sinned, God have got no mercy upon them unless an intercessor comes in between them and he connects them and he connects with them. I'll send an angel before you and drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and Hivites and Jebusites. God is promising Moses, although you are leading those people whom you took out of Egypt, but anyway, I'll send an angel before you. He will lead you and he will take care of your enemies. And those enemies whom he is going to take care of, they are the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and Hivites and Jebusites. Although that was the plan of God that they should be taken care of, but we shall find that as we continue studying the word of God, that Jebusites were not. Jebusite remained because the Israelites never defeated some of these tribes during the time of Joshua. So he says, go up to the land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go with you. God is telling them, yes, go to that land. Go and enjoy it. There is milk, there is honey, as I had said earlier, but I am not going with you. God have refused to go with them, and he doesn't have to do anything with these people. But one thing you got to understand is that God does not change. What God promises, he does not change. Although he can not be happy with you, or maybe you go to worship other gods, but when God gives a promise and an oath, he will always fulfill it. He won't refuse to do it because you have gone astray. So he's telling them, you will go get this land of the milk and honey. I'll fight for you because my angel will be in front of you, but you will be on your own because I will not be with you. Because you are a stiff-necked people. You don't listen. You are the people, when something good is done to you now, you forget immediately after receiving what you have received. This is what he means by stiff-necked people. Those people who are disobedient, those people who forget the good things done to them and they start doing their own things, thinking they are the people who have done it by themselves. and I might destroy you on the way. And God says, because of your character, because of your habits, I may be forced to destroy you on the way. So instead of me going with you and destroy you, you better go on your own. When the people heard these distressing words, they began to mourn, and no one put on any ornament. When people heard what God has said, that I'm not going to with you go alone, do what you want, I'll send an angel before you. Yes, he will fight for you against your enemies, and you will reach that land which I promised your parents, but I am not going with you. So you go alone. So whatever happens to them in future, God is not responsible. So he's taking them to be just like any other people of the other nations. So he doesn't care about them, although he is the one who helped them to get out of the land of Egypt. For the Lord had said to Moses, you see, people started mourning. They started crying as if something has happened, as if they have died already, because the word mourning means death. And they are thinking that now without God, they are nobodies, they are dead, they are finished, because even the enemies from the other angles might attack them and finish them in the wilderness because God has refused to go with them. Immediately, when God refuses to move with you, when God says that he's not going to stand with you, your enemies comes in to attack you and you never make it, because it's only God who gives us power to survive. So what happened? They took out everything that they had, any decorations, any type of clothes they were wearing. They took all those ornaments, what made them beautiful. They took them out to show the sign that there is nothing of value, they value now, except God, if he will agree to go with them. For the Lord had said to Moses, tell the Israelites, you are a stiff-necked people. And if I were to go with you, even for a moment, I might destroy you. Now take off your ornaments and I will decide what to do with you. So now God told them to take everything, the ornament, the decorations, whatever they were wearing, gold, whatever was remaining, diamonds, whatever kind of decorations they had on themselves, they were told to get them out of their bodies. And you know what that means? Because also we have some clothes which are ornamented, or which are made by the threads of gold. In Kiswahili we call them zari. So if they had such a clothes with them, and you remember they took them out of the Egyptians, they had to take them out. This is one of the verses in the Bible which of course is trying to say these people had to remain naked. They had to take out everything and worship God in nakedness for their repentance. So they had to take everything out and worship God without anything. Because even in Egypt, whatever they had, they left it there, but they took what God told them to take. So this is a verse you got to know. It is very important, because in verse 6 it says, so the Israelites stripped off their ornaments at Mount Horeb. So in the mountain of God, they stripped out everything. They didn't have anything to worship. They didn't have anything they were wearing. They just stood in the presence of the Lord on Mount Horeb. And he just told God, do what you want to do with us. And this means they were totally naked. They did not want anything, because they were in total repentance and they did not care. And in later years, you will know that other Jews and Hebrews in different countries, and even in Israel itself, they were wearing what we call the socks, that is magunia. But in this case, this is the only part in the Bible where you find that they took out everything and they remained on Mount Horeb. What does that mean? In Mount Horeb, it is in the presence of God. So when you go to the presence of God and you want to go to do something and you know you have done wrong, it's good to take out everything, surrender everything to God. And then you say, God, here I come, the way I was born, just like Ayub, Job, the way he did. He said, I came in this world naked and I'll go naked. So I don't care anything, Lord, do anything you want to do with me. That's what the Israelites did in front of Mount Horeb. And what did God? This changes God. The moment you do such a thing, God changes, because now he sees the way he created you without any ornament, without anything. being yourself, and God is full of mercies. So what did he do? Now Moses used to tent and pitch it outside the camp, some distance away, calling it the tent of the meeting. Now, what happened before they made the tabernacle in the wilderness? Moses had a habit prior to that order, or whatever they were given on the mountain. Prior to that, Moses used to take the tent from outside and make a tent of the meeting, where he had to meet with the problem or counsel the people, or where people had to bring their problems to him, and where Moses had to meet with God. So he used to take it and build a small, a tent of the meeting, and inside that tent, that is where people used to meet him. And also God used to meet him there. And what happened? Anyone inquiring of the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp. So that is, God had to make an arrangement through Moses. Although Moses did not know exactly what was happening, because he was working in a vision, that is what he used to do. But we are going to see what God will do, because that idea, that vision of Moses, it is going to be accomplished because of what had happened on the mountain. So people used to go to Moses at that place of the tent of the meeting, and then they could present their problems or their cases unto Moses, and Moses could give them the solutions to the judgment, whatever he made against the cases which they had. And you know, the cases were so many. You know, when people are so many, some are fighting, some are against each other, some are stealing others' wives, some are doing, there are so many things which happens in a community. And this was not a community, it was a nation. It was a nation of the Israelites who had come from Egypt in millions. That is, there were more than about 2 million. And these people are many, and Moses had a lot of work to do every day. And what did the people do? When he made that tent of the meeting, and he was there waiting for people to come and present their problem, Moses talked to God. That is what now we are going to see. When he was in that tent of the meeting, a place which is preserved. Like today, you know, we have such a kind of a tent of the meeting. This is what we call the courts, the high court, the low court, and the Supreme Court. That is where people take their problems to. That is, they have copied from the Bible how it was to be done. And now it is divided in division. As the father-in-law of Moses came and told him, get some people to help you in solving this problem, and which they can't solve, you will solve yourself. That is the supreme. But the other problems could be solved from the chieftain level to the leaders level, and then that way until they come to Moses, the problems which could not be solved by the community in different levels. So this is what was happening. But remember, at this time, Moses was solving all the problems alone. So Moses was talking to God now. And whenever Moses went out to the tent, all the people rose and stood at the entrance to their tents, watching Moses until he entered the tent. That is, when Moses was going to that tent of the meeting, and he was ready to go and meet with God and meet also with their problems, the people used to get out of their tents and stand outside their tent looking at Moses the way he's going, because they were waiting, because Moses to the people was a God. Moses was a God to them because he was the mediator. He was the one between God and men. So they had to look upon him because he was standing in between them, knowing that today we say Jesus is the mediator, is our intercessor. That is, Moses was their intercessor. So it was very important for them to be out and see when Moses was going, so that everybody could stand with him and wait for the outcome. As Moses went into the tent, the pillar of the cloud and would come down and stay at the entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses. So immediately during the day, it was during the day, because at night we are not told that Moses is going to the tent of the meeting. He was going there in the morning. And the moment he entered there, what happened? The cloud, pillar of the cloud, that is the pillar of God, came and stood at the door of the entrance of that tent of the meeting. And it was there. And Moses now was inside. Whenever the people saw the pillar of the cloud standing at the entrance to the tent, they all stood and worshiped each at the entrance of his tent. That is everybody at their own tent. Remember those tents in the midst, in the wilderness, and there were so many. So everybody was outside there. And the moment they saw that pillar of the cloud at the door of the tent of the meeting, everybody bowed down. Everybody bowed down to worship whom? The living God, because that was the only way they could worship God. And you don't understand. I want you to understand one thing. If you have studied the book of Daniel, you will know that during that time, when that pillar, when that statue of Nebuchadnezzar was made, everybody was to bow down in the whole of the land of Babylon. Now, in this case, these people are in millions, and now they are bowing down because of what? Because everybody can see the pillar of the cloud, because it is on the top. It is a cloud from the top of the sky. So wherever you are, you can see it. When the rain is coming in a certain area, everybody can see it for a long horizon or a long distance. They can be able to see, because this pillar is a pillar of the cloud. And everybody bowed down and they worshipped the Lord God in form of a pillar of the cloud. That is, what is cloud? Cloud is life itself, because it's water, it's formation of water. The other time I touched about different types of cloud, cumulonimbus, nimbus, and whatever. And these all form water. And water is life. And God is a spirit. And the spirit is in the water. Now, if you see that connection, the molecules, the atoms, and all these things, those people who understand the principle of water, that is hydrogen plus oxygen, when they mix together, they form what we call water. Water is life. And the oxygen which is within is the one we breathe, even in our bodies that we live. Without oxygen, you cannot live. You have to die. So I want you to understand the power and the meaning of the spirit. When you go deeper in that, now you'll understand who is God. And God is a spirit. Now get that combination and know how it works. And in fact, the name oxygen is a human form, is a way the people call it. But you see, they got that because they are talking about the power they cannot explain, because they took from the book of Isaiah and the book of Deuteronomy and other books about the oxen. Oxen were the strongest cattle which were used to plow the land and whatever. So they considered them to be very strong and mighty. You remember Elisha had to kill them, his two oxen, and kill them, the yokes of the oxen, so that he could follow the man of God, Elijah. So if you understand ox, that is where the name oxygen comes from. Ox for oxen. And then gin, you know, that is the origin. Gin is the origin, that is ox. Gin, that is the origin of power, origin of life. So this was discovered, or the name was discovered to be used in around 1876, around there. If you check, that's when they started using the name oxygen, when they were using those experiments of burning and whatever, and they discovered that. They say they discovered, but they discovered nothing, because oxygen was still there for life. The moment God created human beings, oxygen existed, because that is life. And God himself is a spirit which makes us live. So if we understand this thing, you can understand it better. And what happened? He said, if you know, and Moses, when he was there, he was talking to God, and God wanted to talk to him. And what we can see around here, people worshiped God when they came near the place of the tent of the meeting. Everybody stood at the entrance of their doors and worshiped God. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. What it means, the Spirit of God, for those people who have met with God, they understand what it means. You can hear about God and you can perceive his presence. This is what it means. Moses perceived the presence of the Lord. and he knew God was with him, and he could hear what God was telling him. That's why we say, that's why they say Moses met with God face to face, because when he was in that tent of the meeting, God came there, and Moses could hear everything God was talking to him. And even now, we hear God. Those people who are ready to hear from God, you can hear from God. But you got to be devoted to God. You got to listen. You got to be obedient. You got to be clean. You got to be a person of repentance every time, and a person who knows you are God. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent. So when Moses was leaving, his assistant, the young man Joshua, the son of Nun, he remained in that tent of the meeting to take care of it, to make sure he's there, and to know. You see, Joshua was very much trying to understand this God of Moses. He wanted everything to do with God. When you want to know God, you got to follow the men of God, and you know how they talk to God and how they listen to God. And that's why in countries like Africa, here I don't find those things there. But in Africa, when we were ministers, when we met with the ministers, pastors, and whatever, we always try to clean even their shoes so that we could get the anointing which they had. And also ourselves, when we go for missions, even today when I go for missions, you find that there are people who run, the young people who are apprenticed unto the gospel. They come to you, they carry your Bible, they carry anything you are carrying, and they go and put it on the table or where you are going to sit. They make sure that they are getting something from you. That is trying to get the anointing from you. But in a developed nation where people have got money, they don't care. Pastor can come with his books carrying, nobody cares. They just wait at him and wait to do whatever. That is why many people do not get what it needs to get from the men of God. And you can see also during the time of Elijah, Elisha had to follow him here. He could not leave it. Even when the sons of the prophets told him, don't you know your master is going? Elisha said, yes, I know, but he could not make his eyes out of sight. He could not look away from Elijah. He wanted to get everything that Elijah had. And that way he was able to get what Elijah had. So this is what happens when the people of God, and this is what Joshua is doing. He's following Moses each and every step, even before he knows Moses will go to heaven. That is long time, about that 8 years more to come again. And this man of God is waiting on Moses, this young man, waiting. He didn't know what will happen in future, but we know that in future he's the one who will take over from Moses. You have to follow somebody if you want to take something from that somebody, or you want to inherit something. So this is what happened. Joshua remained in the tent of the meeting, doing what? Taking care of it, arranging the chair where Moses was sitting, take care, clean it, and make sure everything is in order. That is the work of the person who follows the man of God. So I sensed one thing in our church some times ago, and in fact, I was very touched, but it didn't go for long, but I still hope about it. A young girl, whenever I came to the church on Sunday, she was always there running and bringing me a bottle of water. That thing touched me so much, and it was continuous for some time. Wherever she's there, she makes sure she brings water. And I had to pray for that girl away, but she didn't know what she was doing. But me, I knew she's getting something from the kingdom. These are the things I'm telling you about, and you can see them in the Bible, what Joshua is doing so that he can inherit from Moses, but not knowing exactly what will happen. But he was obedient to follow the man of God and serve him. So God will not abandon Israel. God have decided not to abandon Israel. So we see what is going to happen. God will show Moses the way. And Moses prays for the presence of God. So Moses said to the Lord, you have been telling me, lead these people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. You have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor with me. Now Moses is arguing with God again, because you remember God told him, take the people whom you took from Egypt with you. and lead them to the land which I promised the parents. But now Moses, he knows he can't go alone because the people do not belong to him. So Moses is very wise. He's full of knowledge. He knows now if he agrees to go with the people, and because he have been promised an angel to lead them, that when God gets away from him, he will never make it because he doesn't have any people and he doesn't have the power like God. So now, before God goes away, when they are still discussing this thing, what does Moses do? He comes to argue with God. He tells him, God, you have always you are telling me to lead the people. You are telling me, Moses, to lead the people, but you have not let me know whom we are going with. You have not told me whom are we going with, because if I lead them alone, I can't take them very far. Whom are you sending me to go with? If I'm going alone, I'm not going. But tell me who I will go with. You have said, I know you by name. That is, I know you. Yes, you are Jehovah. I know you exactly. But have I found favor on you? If I have found favor on you, if you are pleased with me, he's arguing with God because he knows he cannot do it alone. My brother and sister, you got to talk with God every time. Don't think that you can do things by yourself. You can never do, and you won't go far. A man of God or a person who knows how to seek God is a person who is always humble unto the presence of the Lord. You got to humble yourself every time. You got to ask God always to show you the way. Although you may think that you know the way, you don't know the way in the wilderness. You just came in this world a few days ago, and the Lord have been there. So he is the one who knows the way. So Moses is very wise through his education and through the time he has been with God. He knows without God he can make nothing, and he is a nobody because he became a nobody in the wilderness when he was chased out of Egypt after killing that Egyptian. So he knows a lot of these things. And now he's telling God, if you are pleased with me, if you are happy with me, God, teach me your ways. Teach me your ways. Teach me the way you go. Teach me the way you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do so that I can do exactly what you want, so that I don't make a mistake. So I may know you, so that also myself, I'll know you, because I know this you like, this you don't like. You want me to do that, you don't want this one, so that I'll not offend you. I'll do exactly what you say. And this is our prayer every day. God, show us the way. Tell us what to do. And Jesus said very clearly in the book of John 14, verse 6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So even if you don't follow the way, then you can't get anywhere. Isaiah talked about it. He said there is a way people think is good, but it takes them to their destruction. So please don't follow your own way. Always ask God to show you the way so that you know exactly what to do, and what you don't know, God will always correct you. So this is what Moses is using. Is a kind of satire, is a kind of satire, is a kind of and the kind of question he's asking is rather rhetorical. He knows what God will tell him, but he got to ask, he got to humble, because whatever comes from him is from God, because God is a spirit in him. So I may know you and continue to find favor with you, because if God, you teach us your ways, if you show us your paths, if you tell us what to do, God, we shall not be making mistakes every time. We shall be continuing to serve you, and we shall have favor with you because of what we are doing. Remember that this nation is your people. And he comes in again. He tells God, after asking him to show him the way and to show him his path and whatever, then he goes back to the same thing. The same thing God told him. These are the people you took out of Egypt. Now Moses is referring the same question back to God. He says, this nation, remember that this nation is your people. Remember that these Israelites are your people. So Moses is disowning them. Moses doesn't want to take responsibility, because these people belongs to God. But because God had given some words, lead the people that you took from Egypt, Moses is fighting that word. The way I've been teaching you, if somebody tells you something you don't want, please go against that word immediately. Don't wait, because the moment the word gets in the spiritual realms, it starts to work. If that somebody casts you and you never fought against, you never repelled, you never opposed it, that word is going to come against you and it will finish you. If he told you you are weak, you will die, and you didn't repute it, definitely it will come and finish you. That's what Moses is trying to tell you. And this is what I want you to read between the lines. Moses is telling them, the nation belongs to you. They don't belong to me. But he's not telling him directly. He's telling you, the nation of Israel is your people. So the Lord replied, God is happy because of the way Moses is answering or coming back to him, or the way Moses talks to him. And the Lord said, my presence will go with you and I'll give you rest. You see, now God is happy because the way Moses is handling these things is very intelligent. He's asking God to help him because he asked the way, and he asks in the rightful way without anger. And now God has agreed. You see, God has agreed. He has said, my presence will go with you. That is my presence, because God is a spirit. My presence will go with you and I'll give you rest. I make sure that you will rest. You will have a place to rest, that the time when it comes for you to rest, you will have a good rest. So please, I'll go with you and I'll make sure that everything will work with you until the time that you come to rest. To come to rest is to come to an end, or to join God from this worldly life. So God promises, I'll be with you forever, that I'll walk with you and my presence will be with you. Then Moses said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. So Moses now wants to emphasize that what God has said, Moses now is putting an emphasis so that he's sure what God has said, it is coming to pass. So he tells him, if your presence go, oh my God, if your presence do not go with us, we are not ready to leave this place. We will leave this place only after your confirmation that you are going with us. And that is how Moses knows how to discuss issues with God, and he comes to the right conclusion because he's a man who is after God's heart. And he has been with God from Mount Horeb up to now, although the other time when he was living, God was taking care of him, and he did not know anything about God because he was worshiping the gods of Egypt. How? And then how will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? You see, Moses is talking. He's telling God. He's trying to put more emphasis on what God has to do. He tells him, how will people know that you are going with us unless you move with us and you be together with us and the people? That is when you are together with us, that's when people will know that God, you are together with us. And the same thing applies, you people of Rehoboth. How can we know that God is with us? By the presence of what is happening in our midst, what God is doing in our midst. The blessings, the fights against our spiritual enemies, and the way we are moving, the fellowship, the unity, and the riches in glory, how God is blessing us on our way, how God is taking care of our children. These are the things which makes us to know that God is with us. When we don't have a lot of problem, and God takes care of every problem which befalls us. What else will distinguish and your people, me and your people, and all the other people on the face of the earth? That is, the people of God got to be different from the people of the earth. We got to be different from other people because of what? Our behavior, our wearing, our moods, whatever we are doing, we got to be different, because that is the only way. Because if we are like them, we do like them, people will not know the difference who have got God and who do not have God. So please, for us to be known, to be distinguished between other people, that God is with us, God got to move with us, and we don't do like other people. This is what Moses is emphasizing, that these people of Israel must be different from the people of the earth, because there were still so many other people. They used to call them Gentiles, the nations, and whatever, but these people were chosen and they were different. When you are chosen of the Lord, people will always note the difference as a person and as a family and as a congregation. And the Lord said to Moses, now God is going on confirming, and I will do the very thing you have asked. because I am pleased with you and I know you by name. You see now, God has confirmed what Moses wanted. This verse 17 is a confirmation because God is saying, I'll do exactly what you have requested me to do. That is, my presence will go with you. These people will be my people, although I was serious about it. And I am pleased with you, Moses. I love you. I'm pleased of what you are doing, the way you handle problems, the way you come to me. And I know you by name. I know you by name. I know you are Moses. So now Moses have been confirmed. I've received the word of confirmation from God. And look, it's because of persistence. Some things you got to persist. You don't just sit there and think God will come and do whatever you want. No, you have to speak it out. You have to speak. If you don't speak, it is still inside you. God can do nothing. He will just watch you. But if you speak it out, that's why I encourage people. When you are praying, just speak out what you want God to do. Speak out. You don't have to care about people. Speak out, because even now, Moses was not caring what the Israelites are saying or whatever they are doing. That is none of his business. His business is to protect, to intercede for the Israelites, and he had to talk with God. The same thing when you are in prayer. We must pray and tell God what is inside us, and we bring it out as the book of the Philippians 4 says in verse 5 and 6, that we come to God with the petition and prayer and thanksgiving. We talk. You don't keep quiet. If you keep quiet, sometimes we tell people, can you pray for this? You feel people don't want to do that. Why? Because some of them fear. They ask themselves, what can we say? Don't fear what you can say. Speak out, and God will use your mouth and will make sure that you are speaking the right thing. So, what happened now? God has agreed to lead the children of Israel, and he's owning them because of the persistence of Moses and his intercessory. So, God shows Moses his glory. So God decides to show Moses, and Moses is obedient, and Moses does not go against God. And even amongst all the Israelites who are against God, Moses stood alone, and this young man was after him too, Joshua. But the rest were against God. You remember that time, during the time of the calf. Then Moses said, now, you see, after Moses seeing that God is good, he's happy with him, he's pleased with him, now he comes with a final request. His final request. He says what? Now Moses said, now show me your glory. Now, Lord, show me your glory. Show me who you are. Show me your power. Show me your majesty. Let me know you better, Lord. And this is the same thing which we read the other day in the time of prayer about the book of John 17, verse 1. When Jesus says, glorify me, then glorify me, then I glorify you. Now Moses wants to see the glory of God because already he have glorified God, because already the children of Israel have repented and they have come to God, because Moses is showing them God, not himself. And now he's telling God, now show me yours, show me your glory. And the Lord said, I will cause all my goodness to pass in front of you. That is, I'll make sure that my presence, my spiritual power will pass in front of you. And I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. And then I'll proclaim my name and tell you, I'm the Lord, because of the feeling, because of the presence, what will happen when I'm passing. The Lord said, in your presence, you see, I will have Mary, on whom I will have mercy, on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion to whom I'll have compassion. So God is telling him, because of you being a good person, because of being a good man who have been working with him and a mediator, because God does not have a body. He's using the body of Moses to reach the Israelites, because Moses is the one with the body. God is a spirit. He's using Moses to reach the Israelites. And he's telling him he has to have mercy on whom he wants to have mercy. Meaning, Moses, I have mercy upon you, and I have compassion upon you. I love you. I love you. This is what God is saying. And he's the one who decides to do that. According to what? According to how you give yourself to God. If you give yourself wholly to God, God will use you and have mercy of you, because he can't destroy the person, the body he's using. He will take care of it. But if you don't allow God to use you, that body can be destroyed anytime by the satanic powers and whatever. But if God is using you and you are his servant, you are the vessel of honor in earthen vessel. If you read the book of 2 Corinthians 4 from verse 1 there, we are in earthen vessels, but we are honorable because God is in us. Although we are made from the dust, but God is in us. He preserves that body. And that's why it is very important to know whom to serve. Either allow God to be in you or allow Satan. When you allow God, you live long because God will preserve your body because I love you. I have compassion, compassion, and I have mercy upon you. But he said, you cannot see my face. For no man, so you may see me and live. Because God is a spirit. You can't see the spirit with your own eyes. This is what God is trying to tell you. Because the moment you see the spirit, you will have already been transformed into the spirit world, and your spirit will have left your body. That is, you will not live. You will not be in your body again. You will be in him, because already nobody can see God and live. Because you can feel his presence, you can move with him, he can protect you. But if you see him, your spirit will already be out of your body. That is what it means, that you cannot live when you see God, because that spirit of God will intermingle with yours and you'll be one. That's why it says in my father's house there are so many mansions, and when it is ready, I'll come for you. And where I am, you will be. That is how it means. And that is also the word in the book of Ecclesiastes, Mhubiri 12 verse 7, that the spirit have to go back to its owner who gave it. So that is what it means. And where God is, you will be. This is what he's saying. You can't live after seeing God, after being transformed from this. And this is the same thing which is referred in the book of 1 Thessalonians 4. It says that those who slept earlier, they will be the first one to meet with Christ because he's already there, he's a spirit. But ourselves will be transformed and to look like him. That is, we shall leave this body and be like him, so that we can be with him and we shall be caught up in the air. These are what is definitions of rapture, and these are the verses which refers to that, which we shall study in the New Testament. Then the Lord said, there is a place near me where you may stand, on a rock. God is telling Moses, they're talking, but because you can't see me and live, but there is a place near me where you can be. That is the rock. And who is the rock? The rock is Jesus. If you want to go to God, believe in Jesus. And when you believe in Jesus, then you will see God. You see, that is what God is saying. He's trying to tell us Jesus will come. The rock will come. And when you hide in the rock, then you will know God. So when my glory passes, I will put you in the cleft in the rock, and cover you with my hand until I have passed you by, so that you don't die. So God says, because I'm a spirit, you will be standing on that rock. But when I approach, there will be a cleft. A cleft is a vent, is an opening on the rock, it's a crack on the rock. And then you will be there, hidden in the rock, inside the crack, the cleft. And when you are there, the hand of God will be there. You won't be touched because your spirit will be preserved in Jesus. When it is preserved in Jesus, you won't go with God. That is, you won't die because you have seen him, because the cover of Jesus. Now what? Now look here. What I'm trying to tell you is, at the Ark of the Covenant, there is a lead. You remember when we were talking, when Moses was on the mountain, that lead on top, which is made of the wood, and then it is covered with gold all over. And then the angels, cherubim, are on top of it, sitting there, and the witness, the testimonies are inside. That is the golden pot of manna, and the staff of the shepherd, and also the 10 commandments. They are all inside there. And it says, remember book of John 14:6, no one gets the Father unless through me. That is, unless that cover is removed. When that cover is removed, that's when you reach God. Now, that is the verse. This one is explaining John 14, verse 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody gets unto the Father unless through me. That is removing that cover, which have got cherubims, the angels. When you remove it, that's when you see God, the laws of God, the shepherd stake, and also what? The manna, the bread of life. That's when you live. And without removing that which is Jesus, the plated gold, without Jesus opening, then you can't see God. Now, this is what Moses is being told by God. This rock, which is Jesus, you will be hidden on the cleft. And when you are hidden there, you will be able to see God from behind, because Jesus will cover you. Jesus is our intercessor. He is our rock, the rock of all ages. He is our rock. And this is what God was saying. This is Emmanuel. And what happened? And when I will remove my hand, and you will see me my back, but my face must not be seen. And God told him, when I pass, because my hand will be covering you in the rock, in the cleft. When I pass, because my hand now will move, you will see me at the back. You will feel, look what it explains here. When the wind comes, when the spirit is moving, we feel it when it is already moving. We don't face it, we don't see it coming. We feel it when it is going. It's going through us, it's going through us. That's what it means. That is, you will see me at the back. You will feel the presence of God was here. And that's how people talk. Hey, his presence was here, because they feel it. Nobody talks when the presence of God is there. But the moment it goes, that's when everybody talks, seeing it at the back. And this is what Moses was told, because nobody could see God face to face and live. And so we end up there today, knowing that when we start chapter 34, we shall continue. And God bless you. And you can see the conversation between God and Moses is a very interesting one. And Moses in this chapter have worked out as an intercessor, where God wanted to do away with the Israelites completely. But because of sensitivity and the intelligence and the fear of the Lord Moses, that's when God allowed Moses to go.